She told everyone the limping boy was nobody to her, then discovered the scar on his leg was the reason her own heart was still beating. Come sit closer, dear one. Let an old woman tell you a story about two children I loved as if they were my own, Lily and her little brother, Ben. Lily was 13 that autumn, all sharp elbows, tangled headphones, and worried glances in every mirror. Middle school had turned her world into one long audition. Every morning she seemed to ask the same silent question, will they like me today? Ben, just 10, walked with a careful, uneven step. His right leg swung out a little, then caught up. One shoulder dipped when he hurried. Strangers noticed. Some looked away kindly. Others stared a second too long. Tell me, have you ever watched someone you love walk into a room and felt afraid they would be noticed, for all the wrong reasons? Their parents both worked early, so on the first day Ben started at Lily's school, I rode with them. Lily slid into the front seat, backpack perfect, hair brushed straighter than usual. Ben climbed in beside her, his bag lopsided, shoelaces a little loose. You'll see me, right, Lily? He asked, voice hopeful. Maybe we can sit together at lunch? She pulled at a loose thread on her sleeve. We'll see, she murmured, eyes straight ahead. There was a tremble in her voice she hoped no one heard. At the drop-off lane, the school rose like a red brick kingdom, lockers clanging, buses hissing, kids weaving through the traffic of backpacks and laughter. Lily spotted a group of girls near the steps, the very ones she had whispered about all summer. Their ponytails swung in slow motion, their sneakers new and impossibly white. Without meaning to, Lily stepped away from Ben. 1 step. 2. 3. Lily, wait, he called, his limp making the curb tricky. But the air was full of slamming doors and nervous chatter, and she pretended not to hear. Have you ever walked a little faster, hoping your past, or your family, would not catch up? By the time Ben reached the sidewalk, Lily was already at the cluster of girls. Hey, Lily, one of them, Marissa, waved. Cute jacket. Lily's heart leaped. She smiled, tucking hair behind her ear, doing her best to stand like she belonged there. I watched Ben shuffle closer, eyes brightening when he saw his sister with the very friends she had wanted. He lifted a hand, ready to wave. Then Marissa's eyes flicked past Lily's shoulder. Who's that kid? She asked, low but not low enough. He walks like... I don't know, like one leg stuck in mud. The girls snickered. Lily froze. Her cheeks burned. Every kind thing she had ever felt about her brother tried to rise, but fear of those girls' judgment pressed it back down. Do you know him? Another girl asked. He's staring over here. That was the moment. You know those moments, don't you? Tiny doors that open, and whatever we say next decides the kind of person we are becoming? Lily swallowed. He's just a kid from my street, she muttered. He kind of follows people around. I don't really hang out with him. Behind her, Ben's raised hand drooped. He let it fall to his side, the hope in his eyes dimming like a porch light after midnight. He still stepped toward them, because the love of a younger brother is stubborn. Lily, he said softly. Can I walk in with you? Marissa wrinkled her nose. We're actually going to the office. There's no room. The girls began moving as a little flock. Lily glanced once at Ben, just once, then turned and followed them inside. What hurts worse, I wonder, the laughter of strangers, or the silence of someone who should have loved you out loud? By lunchtime, Lily had almost convinced herself the morning did not matter. She had made the girls laugh twice. They liked her new sneakers. Middle school, for the first time, felt like a place where she might fit. In the cafeteria, the girls claimed a table near the windows. Trays clattered, the air thick with the smell of pizza and floor cleaner. Lily sat where she could see everyone walk past, part of her quietly counting how many people seemed to notice her. Then she saw Ben at the end of the lunch line. He held his tray with both hands, wobbling just a little when someone brushed past. He scanned the room, looking for one face. Her face. He spotted her and lit up, as if the whole gray cafeteria had suddenly brightened. Do you remember a time when you were so sure someone would save you a seat? Ben limped over, balancing his milk carton and sandwich. Hey, Lily, he said, smiling. Can I sit with you guys? For a heartbeat, she smiled back. That old, automatic warmth tried to surface. But Marissa's eyes were on her. So were the eyes of two older boys at a nearby table, already noticing Ben's uneven walk. Marissa leaned in. Is that the neighbor kid? She whispered. He walks like a broken robot. The girls giggled. One even mimicked a lopsided stride under the table. Lily's skin prickled. This was the new world she had wanted entry to, and suddenly the cost of admission was standing right beside her with a cafeteria tray. We kind of already filled the table, Lily said quickly, not quite meeting Ben's eyes. Maybe you can sit, over there. She gestured vaguely toward the back, where a few empty seats clung to a forgotten corner. Ben blinked. Oh, he said. Okay. His voice tried to sound casual, but the word cracked like thin ice. As he turned, one of the boys nearby called, Careful, dude, don't trip over nothing. Another chuckled. Wish we had a slow lane for people like him. Lily heard it all. She felt every word like a stone dropped in her stomach. But she did not speak. Have you ever stayed quiet when you knew you should have stood up? The day rolled on, math problems she pretended to understand, chatter about weekend plans she would not be invited to. When the final bell rang, Lily hurried out, almost relieved to be free of eyes and expectations. To her surprise, their father's old sedan waited near the sidewalk. He worked long shifts and rarely made school pickups, but there he was, waving. Hey, birthday girl, he called. It was Lily's 13th birthday. She had mentioned it, of course, but the day had been so tangled in worry that she'd nearly forgotten. Ben was already in the back seat when she slid in, lunchbox on his lap. He had drawn a lopsided balloon with 13 on it in marker and taped it to the inside of the car window. Surprise, he said shyly. I made decorations. Her father grinned. And we picked up something else too. He nodded toward a white box on the seat beside him. From that bakery you love. A cake? Lily's eyes lit up despite herself. Really? Triple chocolate, he said. With the swirly frosting you like. Ben leaned forward, his hand on the edge of the box. I helped choose, he added proudly. They even wrote your name. The car hit a small bump. The box slid. Ben, in his hurry to steady it, forgot how carefully he needed to place his right foot. Sometimes, one small wobble is all it takes to show us who we are. The next few seconds felt like slow motion. Ben's toe caught on the edge of the floor mat. His weak leg buckled. He lurched forward, arms flailing. The box flipped. Frosting smeared spectacularly across the back of Lily's seat and down onto the floor. Chocolate and crumbs exploded like a cruel little fireworks show right inside the car. There was a terrible silence. Then Lily's face flushed a deep, angry red. Ben, she shouted. What is wrong with you? He froze, hands still outstretched, cake on his shirt, horror in his eyes. I'm sorry, he stammered. My foot just. You ruin everything. Lily's voice shook. All the bottled fear, the cafeteria shame, the hallway whispers came boiling out, and she poured them onto the one person least able to defend himself. If you didn't walk so weird, this wouldn't have happened. Her father inhaled sharply. Lily. But she was nowhere near finished. Have you ever said words you wanted back even before they left your mouth? I didn't even want you at my school, she burst out. Everybody stares at you. They laugh. You're embarrassing. Why can't I just have a normal brother? The word hung in the air, normal, as if it were a knife instead of a collection of letters. Ben's lower lip trembled. He shrank back against the seat, as far from her as he could get. Bundled in his too-big jacket, suddenly he looked smaller than 10. Maybe smaller than 5. Their father pulled the car to the curb, hands tight on the steering wheel. The engine rumbled, but nobody spoke for a long moment. At last, he turned around, eyes dark with a different kind of hurt. Lily, he said quietly, get out for a minute. She crossed her arms. It's my birthday, she muttered, staring at the chocolate mess instead of at her brother's face. Out, he repeated, gentler, but firm. She huffed and opened the door. They stood on the sidewalk, a breeze tugging at Lily's hair. Inside the car, Ben sat very still, staring down at the ruined cake on his shoes. Do you even know, her father asked, voice low, why your brother walks the way he does? Lily frowned. Because something's wrong with his leg, she snapped. Obviously. Her father shook his head slowly. No, he said. Not something wrong. Something brave. He leaned back against the car, looking suddenly older than his years. Ben asked us not to tell you, he continued, because he didn't want you to feel sorry for him. But after what I just heard, he paused, collecting himself. You need to understand. There are moments when the past comes knocking, not politely, but like thunder. This was one of them. Do you remember, he asked, that little blue tricycle you had, with the streamers on the handlebars? Lily squinted, trying to pull up a memory from years back. Sort of, she murmured. From when we lived on Maple Street? He nodded. You were 5. Ben was barely 3. You two were outside that summer evening, riding up and down the driveway while your mother and I talked with the neighbors. I was keeping an eye on you, or at least, I thought I was. His gaze drifted past Lily, as if he could still see that long-ago sunset. Your ball rolled toward the road, he said softly. You chased it. You didn't see the car coming. Can you imagine, child, how fast a parent's heart can stop? You pedaled right toward the street, he went on, voice catching. The driver didn't see you at first. Your mother screamed your name. I dropped my coffee and ran, but I knew I wouldn't reach you in time. His hands shook slightly as he spoke, like old film flickering. Ben was closer, he said. He dropped his little toy truck, ran on those tiny legs of his, and shoved your tricycle sideways with everything he had. You fell into Mrs. Porter's rosebush. Scraped knees, startled, crying, but alive. Lily's breath hitched. Faintly, she could almost smell roses and wet pavement. Somewhere in the back of her mind, a buried picture stirred, spinning sky, thorns, her mother's arms. And Ben, she whispered. Her father closed his eyes for a second. The car braked hard, he said. But not fast enough. It caught Ben on the right side. Threw him onto the curb. Lily pressed a hand over her mouth. We rode in the ambulance with him, he continued. Your mother's hands were covered in his blood. At the hospital, they took him into surgery. Your grandmother kept you in the waiting room, coloring, too young to understand why everyone's eyes were red. Hours later, the doctor came out. He said Ben would live. But his leg, her father swallowed. Bones shattered. Nerves damaged. They put in metal rods, screws. He said Ben would walk again, but never quite like other boys. Have you ever realized that a person's quiet struggle is the very reason you are standing where you are? For weeks, he said, your brother lay in that hospital bed, learning to move his toes again. You climbed up beside him with your stuffed bear, thinking he'd just scraped his knee. You told him stories about your tricycle, and he laughed, even when it hurt. He opened his eyes and looked back into the car, where Ben still sat, small and motionless. Every limp you see now, he whispered, is a step he paid for so you could grow up. So you could have birthdays and new sneakers and cafeteria tables to worry about. A car drove by, splashing through a puddle, but Lily barely heard it. Her birthday, her reputation, the ruined cake, all of it shrank to the size of a speck. She saw her brother differently now, not as the boy who tripped and spilled frosting, but as the toddler who had thrown himself at a moving car because he loved his big sister more than his own safety. Tears blurred her vision. He never told me, she whispered. He asked us not to, her father replied. He didn't want you to be kind to him because you felt guilty. He wanted you to like him because he was your brother. Lily's shoulders sagged. Shame washed over her in hot, painful waves. Those cruel words she'd just hurled at Ben replayed in her mind, each one heavier than the last. I said I wished I had a normal brother, she choked. And all this time. Her father's face softened. Normal, he said quietly. There's nothing normal about a 3-year-old saving his sister's life. That's extraordinary. Sometimes the people we are most ashamed of turn out to be the ones we most owe. Without another word, Lily yanked open the back door and slid into the seat beside Ben. Have you ever wished you could climb right into someone else's hurt and try to mend it? Ben didn't look up. He sat stiffly, fingers clenched around a crushed corner of the cake box. Chocolate smeared his sleeve. Ben, Lily whispered. Her voice sounded rusty, as if it belonged to someone who had not spoken kindness in a very long time. I'm so sorry. He shrugged, eyes fixed on the frosting by his shoe. It's just a cake, he muttered. I always mess stuff up. No, she said quickly. It's not about the cake. It's about me. She drew a shaky breath. Dad told me about the tricycle. About the car. Ben's head jerked up. He promised he wouldn't, he said, hurt flickering now with something like panic. I didn't want you to know you saved my life. Lily's eyes filled again. Ben, I've been treating you like you were some kind of problem I had to get away from. But if it weren't for you, I wouldn't even be here to be mean. A little silence settled over them, soft and fragile. I heard what you said, he mumbled, finally. About not wanting me at your school. About being embarrassed. Lily winced as if struck. I know, she whispered. And I deserve for you to be mad. I deserve for you not to talk to me at all. But I'm asking if you'll let me try again. Ben sniffed. Try what? Being your sister, she said. Your real sister. The kind who walks next to you instead of in front of you. He studied her, searching her face for the mocking smile he dreaded. There wasn't one. There was only raw regret and a kind of fierce promise. What if your friends laugh? He asked quietly. They think I walk funny. Lily thought of Marissa, of the cafeteria table, of the boys imitating his limp. Her stomach twisted. Maybe they will, she said slowly. But maybe they're not the kind of friends I need. Isn't that one of the hardest lessons of growing up, learning who truly belongs at your table? Her father started the car again, the ruined cake still scenting the air with cocoa and something like second chances. We'll get ice cream instead, he said gently. Cakes crumble. Families don't have to. That night, Lily sat on her bed, birthday cards scattered but unread. She stared at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the day, the hallway, the lunch line, Ben's tray, the boys' cruel jokes. She knew the real test would come tomorrow. Words in a car were one thing, standing up in a crowded school was another. What would you do if you were 13 and your place at the right table depended on looking the other way? Morning came whether she wanted it to or not. When the car pulled into the school lot, Lily didn't wait for Ben to ask. She climbed out, then walked around to his side and opened his door. "You ready?" she asked. He hesitated. "For what?" "For us to walk in together," she said, shouldering her backpack. Her voice still trembled, but there was steel under the softness now. He managed a tiny smile. "Okay." They stepped onto the sidewalk side by side. Lily matched her pace to his without thinking about it this time, adjusting when his right foot needed an extra heartbeat. A few kids glanced over, one girl nudged another, whispering. Lily's cheeks flared, but she kept her chin level. Marissa stood near the entrance again, flanked by their usual group. "Lily," she called. "Come on, you're gonna be late." Then she noticed Ben. Her expression slid from friendly to puzzled. "Oh. You're walking with him?" "Yes," Lily said simply. "With my brother." Have you ever felt your whole future balancing on one sentence? Inside, the day rolled forward until gym class, the part Lily dreaded the most. Teams. Running. The place where difference shows. The coach blew his whistle. "We're playing dodgeball today," he announced. "Two captains. Marissa, you take one team. Connor, you take the other." Lily's stomach dropped. Ben stood near the back, clearly hoping he might somehow blend into the bleachers. His limp was more obvious when he was nervous, his toes turned inward, almost apologetically. Names were called. Kids jogged to one side or the other, forming shrieking swarms. Ball after ball thudded into hands. Soon, only a few stragglers remained unchosen. Ben among them. Connor sighed dramatically. "Do we have to take everybody?" he complained. "He's just going to slow us down." Marissa laughed. "Yeah, he'll be out in the first 5 seconds." Several kids snickered, glancing at Ben as if he were already a joke that had gone on too long. Lily felt that old instinct, look away, say nothing, rise in her again. But it ran into a stronger force, the memory of metal rods in a 3-year-old's leg, of a hospital room, of a little boy pushing a tricycle away from danger. "Coach." Lily called out, surprising even herself. "Can we pick again?" The teacher frowned. "Game's already set, Lily." "Then let me trade," she insisted, voice steadier now. "I want Ben on my team." The room quieted. Ben blinked, not sure he'd heard right. Marissa rolled her eyes. "Why?" "He can barely run." "Because he's my brother," Lily said, loud enough this time that the whole class heard. "And he's braver than anyone in this gym." A hush fell. Kids stared. Connor snorted. "What, did he fight a dragon or something?" "In a way, yes," Lily said. Her eyes flicked to Ben, and for a heartbeat the whole world shrank to just the two of them. "He stepped in front of a car for me when we were little. That's why he walks like that. So if you think that limp makes him weak, you don't know what strength is. Sometimes courage is not a shout, but a girl finally telling the truth." The coach studied her for a long second, then blew his whistle again. "Ben, you're with Lily's team," he decided. "And for today, nobody throws above the waist. We play smart and safe, or we sit." A murmur went through the class. Some kids looked impressed, others simply looked thoughtful, as if their eyes had been opened to a story they'd never considered. Ben limped, over to Lily's side. He tried to hide it, but a shy grin began to tug at the corner of his mouth. "You didn't have to say all that," he muttered. Yes, she replied softly. I did. During the game, Lily made sure Ben was never left alone. When a ball came his way, she stepped in front of him more than once, taking hits to keep him in. Not because he was fragile, but because that is what you do when you finally understand how much someone once protected you. By the end, their team lost by a point. No one cared. Kids patted Ben's shoulder. One boy even said, "Nice catch," after he snagged a slow-rolling ball that might otherwise have slipped past. Lily noticed something. The ceiling didn't fall when she chose her brother over popularity. The earth kept turning. And her world, somehow, felt bigger, not smaller. At lunch, Marissa waved from their usual table. "Come on, Lily," she called. "We saved you a seat." Lily glanced down the line and saw Ben again, tray in hand, scanning the room. He saw her with Marissa and hesitated, already readying himself to turn away. Lily picked up her tray and walked toward Marissa's table. Old habits tugged at her feet. But halfway there, she stopped. Is a chair among people who do not value your family really worth keeping? That spot's for you, right? Marissa said as Lily approached. No brothers today, okay? The guys are gonna sit with us. Lily looked at the empty space, then at her friends. Actually, she said slowly, I'm sitting with my brother. Marissa's smile faltered. Lily, she whispered, everyone will stare. Let them, Lily answered. They've been staring at him for years. It's time they stare at me, too, and see whose side I'm on. She turned, heart pounding, and walked toward Ben instead. The room felt suddenly enormous, every step echoing. She could hear the low tide of whispers rising behind her. Ben watched her come, eyes wide. Is it okay if I sit here? She asked, trying a little smile. He blinked. You want to? Yes, she said, sliding into the seat across from him. And I was kind of hoping you'd save the spot next to you for me. Every day. Some seats, once you choose them, become sacred. They ate in a tentative, quiet way at first, like people learning a new language. Then Lily told a joke about gym class, and Ben laughed so hard milk nearly came out of his nose. A boy at the next table snorted, but another simply shook his head and turned back to his own lunch. You know, Lily said, picking at her sandwich, if anyone says something mean about your walk again, I'm going to tell them exactly why you limp. That you're my hero. Ben flushed. Maybe don't say, hero, he murmured, embarrassed but clearly pleased. Too late, she said. That's what you are. Years later, when I pass that school, I still think of that cafeteria. I think of chocolate frosting on car seats, and hospital hallways, and a boy who walked differently so his sister could walk at all. Tell me, my dear, is there someone in your life whose quiet sacrifices you have not yet seen? We rush through our days, fretting over who laughed at our jokes, who clicked, who sat near us. Meanwhile, there are people moving a little slower beside us, bearing scars we do not even bother to ask about. Don't wait for regret to remind you who saved you. If this story about Lily and Ben stirred something in your heart, would you gently tap that like button so others might find it too? And if you'd like to hear more true-to-life tales from years gone by, you are welcome to subscribe to Dust of Old Days, where we remember together so we can live a little kinder now. Tonight, before you sleep, think of the ones who have walked with a limp, visible or hidden, because of the love they carried for you. Maybe it's time to call them. Maybe it's time to say the words Lily finally learned, I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm proud to walk beside you. And if you are the one who limps, in body or in soul, because of what you have done for others, hear this from an old woman who has watched a great many children grow. You are not an embarrassment. You are the reason someone else can stand. Now finish your tea, dear. Tomorrow will bring its own chances to choose who you walk beside. May you choose wisely.